Peter Drucker, the great management guru, observed that one thing for-profit companies can learn from nonprofits is mission, purpose, knowing what you're here for, which focuses the mind wonderfully. Define, as you see it, Xerox's purpose, mission. When I was growing up, before you were born, Xerox was copiers.
Yeah.
Much different animal today.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Our mission was never really copiers. We got confused along the way, and we thought that what we were doing, the output of what our mission was at that time, was our mission. And it turns out that that was not so. If you think about what copying was at the time, it was there was a business process that was called reproduction of your documents, right? So they had these people, most of them women, who would take the original thing and they would copy it by hand or type it again. And this was a business process because they needed more than one copy or else you wouldn't be able to do commerce, right? And the gentleman who founded our company, Joe Wilson, and then Chet Carlson and Joe Wilson, the scientist and then the business guy, realized that this business process was a clogging point, a pain point for customers. So he said, hey, I'll just figure out a technical solution to this business process problem, which is to recreate originals into copies and to be able to disseminate them so that everybody can operate them at the same time, right, and have a true facsimile of this thing. And our mission was to automate that business process that was called copying, and we did it by injecting technology. And we became so good at that that we thought that copying was our mission, right? And so we basically took that and we made it copying big, small, color, black and white. We made it network copying. We did every big copying, small copying, two-sided copying, everything that you can, special, every other letter, color copying, and that was good. And we lost sight of the fact that our mission was something other than just copying. Unfortunately, we nearly died, right, by thinking that our mission was only copying. And when you look at that, you really naturally narrow your market down to a very small space that you can play in, because a lot of other people can copy. We had this thing called the consent decree that allowed competitors to take the patents that we had generated, and so we had competitors for the first time. And then the market started to change, right? You have iPads and iPhones, and even before that, there were other means for you to reproduce that didn't require you to have this big technical know-how. And we had to step back a little bit and figure out what our mission was. And Ann had run the company during Ann Mulcahy, the CEO before me, during a really tough time. The company nearly went bankrupt. She was brought in to take over from this very amazing guy who we hired to run the company, who didn't do very well. And she came in as the second choice, and she righted the company. She actually got us financially stable. She allowed us to kind of shed a lot of the things that were extras, but not core. One of the things that were core that we didn't shed was our technology expertise and this whole idea of really, really tough problems, tough technical problems we actually like. And we have people all over the world who do research to try to figure out a way to solve them. These things are things that she didn't really understand how they worked, but she knew that they were valuable. We have a very strong sales culture, we have a global reach. So all these things she kept, and she shed everything else at the time. And because she turned over to me a company that was stable, and a company that had started a business that was a little bit outside of copying, which was called our document services business. It's around managing document technology, but not exactly all the technology pieces of it. I had to step back when she told me that I was the president and then the CEO. I had to step back and figure out, so what is it that we really do? What is our mission? And it started out, had teams working, and it's copying. We're a printing company, we're a document company, all this stuff like that. And it turns out we're not. We're a business process company. Now, it sounds really clear today, right? But obviously I didn't wake up one night and say, oh, we're a business process company. But as we were thinking about expanding, we kept expanding because our customers kept saying, can't you work with me on more of these complex things that I'm not really that interested in, that are required for me to run my business, that need some technology, need to be knitted together around the globe. You seem to do this process well. Can't you do more processes for me? That are document intensive, that have something to do with the movement of information. So we bought two small companies very document-intensive companies, companies that work in document-intensive industries. One is the legal industry. In the United States, as you know, it's all paper. And the other one, or images, mostly on paper.
Well, mostly billing.
Mostly billing, which you would know very, very well about. And the second one is in mortgages. If you know anything about a mortgage, it is literally the least efficient, most paper-intensive process. So we bought companies to try to automate those business processes that were document-intensive. And down that path, as we continue to question, so what is it that we really do? What is it we really do? What is it we really do? We came to the conclusion that we're a business process company. Now, we're a business process company with no expertise in some of the most exciting business processes. So what we had to do was go buy some other ones. And we weren't looking for companies, small companies to buy. We bought, like I said, a litigation company, a mortgage company. And we were going to buy some other small companies. And we kept running into this company that was really good, but a little bit bigger than we were thinking about by a lot. I mean, it was 10 times, 15 times the size that we were shooting for. And this was right at the time that the market had gone to hell in a handbasket. Every bank was about ready to go out of business. No one had money. It was horrible, a horrible time, and we ran into this company called ACS. We run into this company, we meet with the company, and we want to buy it because it had done what we wanted to do, which was it had started many different lines of business process. So things from business processes, every company has a finance and accounting function. And pretty much it's standard. There's a lot of nuances around it above a base layer. Everybody has a customer care infrastructure. So a customer calls in, you have to take the call and kind of manage the problem to solution. Many different business processes that are horizontal that you can actually create an infrastructure and then replicate it to in other companies. Other clients that you serve. ACS had done this. They had started by starting a business, but then by buying very smart, very intelligently, many different BPO lines. And instead of us doing it ourselves, which we were going to do, but the math showed me that it would take us like 100 years to get to scale. I mean, really, because if you buy $150 million at a time, and then it's just as hard to buy $150 million as it is to buy $1.5 billion. But if you keep buying in like $50 to $150 million, it's going to take you a really long time to get scale. And it's very risky. And then you have all these personalities. It's a pain in the rear end. So this company that was already there and had done all the buying, we said, okay, that's the company. And the rest, as I say, is history. Myself and the CFO at the time, with the help of the board and the rest of the Xerox family, made the money that allowed us to buy ACS. We bought ACS in February of 2009? 10, February of 2010. We closed in February of 2010, and we started to fulfill the true mission of Xerox, which is to help customers operate their businesses, the back offices of their businesses, all different types of back office functions, so that they can actually focus on their customers better. And I'll use, and then you can get the next question. I'll use P&G as the perfect example. P&G.
You're the perfect interviewee.
P&G does Tide. Do they do Pampers? They do
Yes.
Pampers.
Yep.
They don't do customer. They care about Tide and Pampers and all the other stuff that they do. The dog food that they sell, Gillette. They do Gillette razors. So they don't particularly care about. They care about, but they're not expert in, and they don't want to spend an incremental dollar in responding to the customer's call. They want the customer's call responded to. They want it done in a P&G way. They want it done in a way that they can get the appropriate information from it, not only to solve the problem, but to actually aggregate information for the next solution that they develop. They want all of that stuff done. But if they could get somebody else to do it for them, so they can focus on the next molecule that's going to be the best Tide molecule, or the next whatever it's going to be absorbing thing that can make the next Pampers, that's where they would spend their money. So what we do with customers is we actually speak to them about their business and say, so what is it that you do? Not the functions that you do, but what do customers pay for at the end? And when you list that for me, I guarantee you that no one will say they pay for my finance and accounting function. They won't say I pay for my customer care fund. They won't say I pay for the transaction processing things, the document. They don't do that. So whatever they don't say, I take a little list of and say, oh, we can do that, and that. And we can do it in such a way that it seems like you have all P&G people walking around your company. And by the way, because they are P&G people, we make them P&G people, or we make them the state, we make them DWP people, we make them whoever whoever can.
Airways,
yeah. And then what we can do is we can take this infrastructure that we've built to take calls or manage a transaction process, whatever it is, and we can scale it not only for P&G, which P&G could never do. We cannot use it for P&G only. We use it for P&G, and then we use it for Target and for whoever else. So you can get, instead of P&G paying 100% of this thing, they pay 10% of it, and they get utilization and presence like they had dedicated resources. This business is you can't max yourself out of it. Right? As long as there are things to do in the office that are either regulatory or compliance or part of your business process that's not meeting the end customer, we can probably develop and design and scale a business process around it. Probably buy it before we do those things.
What it gets to is, again, making reference to Drucker, is that you succeed by focusing on your core competencies, not things that others can do better.
Better. And it's really important you understand what your core competencies are, and don't get kind of fooled into thinking that it is like short phrases, like we're copying, but you have to understand why. Why would anybody pay for that? Why would have anybody paid for that thing that we did in the beginning?